let's just talk about hockey. Well, not hockey, but what's actually going on. We have offer sheets. We got offer sheets, baby. And like one that was just like, yeah, I like that. I would like that player at that. I would like to get that player for a fucking third. And then one that was like, whoa. Anyways, St. Louis Blues offer sheet both Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway from the Edmonton Oilers. The official numbers, I just had it up, of course. Philip Broberg, 2 years, $4.58 million, the max amount for them just offering a 2020 or getting a 2025 second round pick if they choose not to match. Dylan Holloway, 2 by $2.29 million, which would be for compensation a third round pick. I believe that's the total.
Yes. And the crazy thing is, so not many people know this because I haven't talked about it for a while because they just never happen. It's like unicorn shit or gold at the end of the rainbow. I'm obsessed with offer sheets. I think it's the greatest thing in hockey. And a lot of people don't realize what you just said, right? Everyone, even some of the like national pundits like The Athletic came in, they're like, I thought this is insane. I thought like, oh my God, you're giving up a bunch of first round picks for these guys? And he's like, wait a minute. That's not how this works. Holy crap. So like you mentioned, there's a compensation goes by dollar value, and they literally paid both of them a hair under what the threshold is to be able to keep them at the preferable compensation. So if they're just over, that's confusing for people. 1.5 million, just a hair over that. If you are below that for your offer sheet, no compensation whatsoever. Next tier is close to 2.3 mil. That's a third round pick. Following is just above 4.5 million. That's a second round pick. Then we get into the danger tiers of like, let's see, it was almost 6.9, but we'll say 6.8. It's a first and a third. 9.1 million is a first, second, and third. And then 11.4 is two firsts, second, and third. Above that threshold then of 11.4 becomes 4 first-round picks, which I'd love to see one of those thrown out. Real decision to be made. But the real thing that's great is coming from Elliot Friedman. Broberg asked for 1.8. Holloway asked for 1.2. Boy, they're going to regret being greedy on those fucking offers. Because now, like you mentioned, Broberg, 4.58 million, and Dylan Holloway, 2.29 million. I don't see how the Oilers do either, but if they do, it's the only one they can possibly make work is Holloway. And I'm with you. I think that the money on Broberg is high. I also think that it hasn't started awesome for him. I blame Edmonton for a good chunk of that. I think there's more upside to his game than Holloway's. Maybe you disagree.
No, not at all. So, and a little bit more on each of these guys. So Broberg, 8th overall in 2019. Good size, right shot D-man, super high profile in his draft year. Obviously, like you said, has not gone well in Edmonton. Very few drafted players outside of like the guys that went first overall or like Draisaitl there have like it's gone pretty not great for a whole lot of those guys. But especially when you look at like their back end, not the most friendly environment for a young defenseman to be in. He's played a total regular season 81 games, which again, the fact that the money is 4.58 for 2 years. He's played 81 regular season games, 13 points, is dash 5 with 10 pins, averaging just under 13 minutes a night. Played 20 playoff games, where it's actually been real. Like when they inserted him in the lineup, this playoffs, I actually think he looked a lot better than he did the regular season. That's pretty much been the case for him in the past as well. 3 points in 20 playoff games, plus 11 and averaging just over 11 minutes time on ice. Dylan Holloway, 14th overall in 2020, 89 regular season games, 18 points, 56 penalty minutes, -1, 10.5 minutes time on ice. Playoffs, 26 games, 7 points, so almost the same amount of regular or playoff points as he has regular season, and just over 11 minutes time on ice. Both players, honestly, have looked like significantly better in the playoffs than they have in the regular season. Holloway, I thought, looked real good towards the tail end and was a big reason that they stretched that final series to 7 games. Like he was a nice complementary piece where he's got really nice hands and skill, but he also can play at speed, to which like was the reason really that he was able to play in Edmonton's top 6. I think they both have decent enough upsides. I don't see Broberg as a top pair D-man. I don't see Holloway. I think Holloway could be a fringe second line guy. But like you said, the 4.58 for Broberg is incredibly high. That's a pretty big bet on the change of scenery, like benefiting him to the max. I totally get it. And like another, and like you were saying, the offer sheets never happen. And the ones that do, like the second you see what the offer is, you're like, oh, they're gonna fucking match. Like there's no chance they don't. Like even a big one like Aho, that was never not getting matched. But this one really puts Edmonton in a bind where I think when you look at both players, how young they are, the positions that they play, and the fact that right now they're not going to be signing, or well, in theory, wouldn't have been signing very big tickets. Those are two pretty critical players, not just for now, but like going into the future. If they match and they sign both of those guys, that puts them $7.2 million over the cap as is. And they've got a ton of work to do to get under or be cap compliant for next season. So not only is this two players that St. Louis looks at and says, like, in terms of like what we would give up outside of just the money, not crazy. Two players that, like, when you look at their prospect pool, it's right probably in the middle to the bottom end. And obviously those are two guys that can probably they will be inserted in play right away. So two good players to add into their lineup, both now and in the future. Not crazy compensation in terms of like the picks that you're giving up. And you put Edmonton in a real bind trying to figure out if they actually want to match, which again, if they do match, there's $7.2 million over the cap. So not only is this offer sheet really fun because it's pretty 50-50 whether or not Edmonton's going to match. They're probably not going to match the Broberg one. So it's actually going to be successful, most likely, at least one of the two. But like, it's meaningful players. It's going to be an offer sheet that probably works, at least with one. So it's fun. And then I know Cam Robinson tweeted out that he would like asked around the league, and it sounds like there were several teams looking at this exact scenario as well. And with the cap going up, and with some of these contracts around the league, they're like, we say this every year, but it sounds like there's a lot more teams that have the appetite for like throwing out offer sheets more and more. So like the fact that we might get more of these and like more that will actually put teams in a bind / be realistic. I love that. That's delicious. That is delicious stuff. We'll use that word again.
The best part, Edmonton really can't clap back because they've got the Draisaitl and McDavid extensions on the horizon. So they can't even take another swing at St. Louis. But I got to ask you, there's 3 potential angles here on how this came to be. Because they did telegraph it to them, like when there was discussion around potentially sending Buchnevich there at the deadline. Those are the 2 players they asked about. But is this one, Doug Armstrong being like, I'm out in like a year or 2 anyways, and Steen's replacing me? Let him retaliate. I don't give a crap. 2, this is Steen coming in and making his stamp and saying, fuck you guys for bringing in dirtbag Bowman. Or 3, this is the the scorned ex-girlfriend in Peter Chiarelli saying, yeah, go get those Edmonton Oilers. Do it.
All 3 of those are delicious as well. I love the idea of Steen coming in and being like, all right, fuck these motherfuckers. And just really like getting that started off well. I don't know, but again, I do like it's these 2 players. It's one thing when like an offer sheet gets thrown out. Like, again, we were just talking about they're usually pretty unrealistic / they're going to match. But like these are 2 such interesting players because like, again, they could be so important for Edmonton down the line. And we've seen flashes of Holloway be a really fucking good player. And those are two players that, like, when you look at St. Louis, such good players to target. And, like, there's a range of outcomes for both guys. And it's not like a crazy, like, several years. It's like 2 years, and, like, we're making it somewhat of a gamble, but if it doesn't work out at the same time, like, 2 years. And the cap continues to go up as well. So I love this. Like, it really, like, if you're Edmonton, you really, really have to, like, sit there and, like, just add this to your list of headaches with, like, that's going on right now. Because, like, you got, like, Evander Kane getting surgery too. Is he going to be ready to start the season? Like, plus, again, McDavid, Draisaitl contracts. Like, it's just another headache. And I'm okay with the Edmonton Oilers suffering through several fucking headaches constantly to add to their little PR. I guess it wasn't even really a PR nightmare. I kind of think, like, which was shocking that it's like came and went. I feel like I haven't seen. I mean, I also again have muted so many different things on Twitter.
I blame Elon. I blame Elon. It's the algorithm.
Yes,
no one saw it.
Yeah.
Dude, so other things people need to know about offer sheets, because there's a lot of chatter in our comments right now on the live stream, which love all of you that listen live and do give us your comments. But Cosgrove said, listen to the Russo show today. I guess someone is putting the idea into the universe that Wallstedt could get an offer sheet next year. I'm 90% sure. Wild match almost all offers, though. Couple things that are worth noting. First, it was mentioned on the Athletic podcast from it was like Jesse Granger and Mark Lazarus, that goalies would be the ideal people to target here. Throw more money than the team's necessarily comfortable doing, but again, if you're looking at them as being like a 1B, you can stomach 3 or 4 million when there's another team that's cap strapped. You got to understand the rules, though. People can't just throw offer sheets at any player they want. The player has to sign said offer sheet. I don't know that I'm worried about Jesper Wallstedt signing an offer sheet unless the Wild dick him around, right? Like, these are two players that made very reasonable asks to the Edmonton Oilers, got brushed aside, and then a team came to them and said, hey, we'll pay you double or triple what you asked for. And they're like, yeah, I'll sign that. Like, so I'm not worried about Wallstedt at all, because I don't think he's going to go and sign an offer sheet, but it is always possible. The other thing that I didn't know, Z, maybe you did, and again, I'm obsessed with offer sheets, so I'm embarrassed that I wasn't aware of this. Apparently, whether they go to Edmonton or St. Louis, those players cannot be traded for a calendar year. And that adds a big wrinkle, because a lot of people are like, oh, why doesn't Edmonton just like match the offer and then trade them and get something? No, you have to keep a player that's signed via offer sheet, period. And there is no negotiation at this point. The exact line-by-line details of those offer sheets have to be matched to a T by Edmonton to keep them. And that's why the Sebastian Aho one, we all knew that he was going to stay in Carolina, like Z said, but the reason that it was so controversial is the Carolina owner is notoriously cheap. And the Montreal Canadiens made this thing laden in signing bonuses, a lot of the money up front at the beginning of the deal, which, like, they're like, yeah, you want to keep him? Time to not be a cheap piece of shit. And of course, he begrudgingly signed it and then made a huge mistake going and clapping back by taking Kotkaniemi and giving him a lot of money for a lot of years. Weird, but so that's all just to say there's caveats that go into this that maybe not every listener knows, because these offer sheets never happen.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, with the, I remember with the Aho one, it was like, it was part funny, part annoying, because, like, listen, Tom Dundon, obviously, like, in the grand scheme of things, has been great for the Carolina Hurricanes. Like, immediately came in and made a lot of changes with, like, the fan experience and everything like that. And obviously, like, immediately wanted to win and everything. But it, like you said, has a ton of fucking money, but was very, very, very stingy with it. But notoriously, the one time that people who are fucking billionaires who are also stingy, the one time they'll be like, oh, I'll fucking I'll throw fuck you money into the universe is when you challenge them to, hey, let's see who's more rich contest. And he was like, do you want to pay like 30 million in the first like 3 years? And he goes, fuck yeah, I do. Fuck you. I would have given him more. And fucking then he goes out and gets Kakagami the next year. So it's insane. Like that these motherfuckers are just like, oh, you don't think I'm rich? Okay. It was insane. It's just so I mean, bottom line, we need more offer sheets. We need them to be very contentious as well. I want petty. And I just want people on their toes all the time. But this one was beautifully constructed, really well done from St. Louis. Again, any headache added to Edmonton's list of headaches, I'm all for. So I think it's really well done all around. And again, like I love the idea of both of those players in St. Louis. I mean, I don't love it because I don't like St. Louis whatsoever. But again, like two players that ideally would fit really well in St. Louis, and especially Broberg. I just want him out of Edmonton because I do think there is a really fucking good hockey player in there. And like the Edmonton Oilers are not a young defenseman who has a lot of offense in his game friendly environment. Like that's just not the place to be
unless you're a unicorn like Bouchard.
Right. There's like, and he's not there. Like that's just not it. So I love this. Like, 4.5.
Now the best, crazy. The best. Z, did you see the thumbnail that Isha made for this?
Oh, is that what he sent us?
Check the Twitter DM that he sent us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
in my head, I was like,
I brought it up to him. I'm like immediately thinking they are going to put this guy, being Broberg, on a D pairing with Ryan Suter, and we're going right back to I'm not going to the fucking corner.
Yeah.
And we have Spurgeon reborn.
Oh God, poor bastard has no idea. He has no idea. He's in for. He's like, I shouldn't have fucking signed this.
Tell you what, for 4.5, he's like, that's fine. I'll go into the corner. I'll forecheck too.
Suter actually does. Suter's gonna sit down. They gave you 4.5, dude. Nice.
Like, the idea
4.5 when you asked for what?
Play poorly enough that you get bought out. You go sign with another team, and then you're double dipping.
Yeah, listen, bro. Let me tell you how this really could go well for you.
Now, first thing you have to do is sign a 13-year contract. He's like, Ryan, I can't do that. They don't let you anymore. He's like, no, 13-year contract.
He's like, you don't know the owner? You're not, okay. Well, I don't know what that's like.
Next thing you need to do, get some dirt on the owner. Yes, that's a given. Oh man, that's fun. But yes, I'm just so happy about all of the storylines with this and the fact that we got a double offer sheet, which is the way you need to do it, and that it's happening to Edmonton right on the heels of bringing in scumbag Stan Bowman. It's just phenomenal. I love it.
Beautiful. And just, I don't even know if you would consider it painful, because I think it was what a lot of, I guess, this team's fan base was hoping for. But like, because it's Toronto, any news is turmoil. Tavares, the now ex-captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was weird. Auston Matthews given the C from Tavares. And like, for people who do not remember how insane this 7-game series was with Boston this year in terms of just like, I mean, those fans, they kind of hit a new level of ruthlessness with how much they hated their own team. Like, and like, justifiably, they were upset with how the first 4 games went. But then they really started looking dumb for a second there. But we all knew how Game 7 was going to go. Like, that was just whatever. But Tavares was not good in the playoffs. Like, I mean, objectively, he was, like, I forgot he was on the ice. And it was like, hey, we have to trade Marner and Tavares immediately. Don't care what we get back for either guy. Like, that's how it is. And then I see a tweet from Chris Johnston earlier where it was like, or I can't remember if it was a tweet or if it was in the article that he wrote, but it was like the grace that Tavares showed, which to his credit, he was like, you couldn't have asked Tavares to be a better like sport about it. And like, cause I mean, it honestly seemed like genuinely, yeah, whatever. But it's like could lead to a longer stay in Toronto, and the fucking fans lost their minds, dude. Yeah. Which, like, again, they got what they wanted with like Matthews getting the C, but they're like, what? Might come a little extension guy here for Tavares. And it's like, fuck, god damn it. So again, I think the turmoil is more just in the fan base and like whatever the media can drum up. But what a weird time it feels. I don't know why I feel like that could have been something that they wanted to give him an extension. They could have been like, that could have been part like, hey, yeah, we'll keep you here, we'll give you this, but like we want Auston to be, because Tavares has 1 year left on his deal right now.
Yeah.
Would you? I don't know. If to me it just seems unnecessary and weird. And like,
it tries the price down. If he's not the captain this year, the contract extension will be lower, I
guess. But like, I mean, they probably shouldn't do that in the first place. But you know, like,
well, it depends on I don't know. Like, I understand bringing him back if it's for a reasonable number. Like, what's the cap? Like, what's the max that you would pay him to come back? Forget term, just AAV.
I honestly, with how last year went and how the playoffs went, I actually have no idea. Like, I would need to actually use this year as
fair,
like because like even
they're going to
right now right, but again, like it's just I don't really know what's going on in Toronto. Like I like even like their off season I thought was like kind of weird. I didn't love a lot of what they did in the first place. Like with what they've got going, like their back end is so confusing to me.
I like the goaltending.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't know. They just like I just didn't love like their offseason. I thought was very weird. Outside of like their first round pick, I didn't like their draft whatsoever. And I mean, it's so weird to me that a lot of the conversation with the Toronto Maple Leafs has been like, we hired Berube, everything is fixed. I'm like, I don't think that's how this works. Mm-hmm. But all right, sure, you can. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Definitely agree with you that we got to see how this year goes for Tavares. Like, this should not be the Billy G special where they give him an extension with a no move before the season starts. But like, if he's willing to come back, assuming that like there's still tread on the tires, like 6.5 wouldn't like make me too upset.
And in my head, 6 is like the max right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's like you've got a guy right now in Tavares who wears the C and just like, regardless of what his answers are, like he answers to the media every time. And like, he's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you guys are mean. And we did the thing again where we just like disappointed the shit out of everybody. And we didn't do anything different. And the good thing about Matthews though is that guy doesn't give a fuck, but he doesn't like scream cap. I don't know. He's their best player. I get it. Sometimes at times you want your best player to be a captain, but like, I don't know.
So here's my thought though. Like in hockey of all sports, who your captain is, like, isn't that important because you have a locker room. There are vocal leaders. Actually, a good example that's been brought up in the past is like Brent Seabrook. Sometimes had the A, sometimes didn't even have a letter. He was the leader of that team. He was the guy in the locker room that was like the vocal leader. Everyone likes to say that it's Jonathan Toews, but like, no, Seabrook was like the guy that kept everyone on track. He didn't give a shit if he had a letter or not. And at the end of the day, Tavares will get over it and it won't be a big deal. But for me, it's just weird that they're like forcing this. Like, oh, this is going to be the thing that gets us over the hump when like it's really not going to change much. If anything, it's just going to make things a little awkward for those guys in the room because it's like Matthews is like, I want Tavares as a C. Give it to me now. He's not mad. He's not going to turn it away. But like, it's a weird dynamic for a guy who has come in and taken the punches from the media. He's been like a good leader. From his time in New York to his time in Toronto, he's done a great job. In most markets, this isn't a big deal. Like, look at San Jose. It went from Marlowe to Thornton to Pavelski, and like it kind of was a news story, but then it goes away. In Toronto, this is going to be the talk of everything. And it just feels like a really weird timing for them. Like, as soon as his contract ends is the easiest time to make that transition, like you said. It just feels forced, unless there's something we don't know about the situation that like warranted this. I can't imagine John Tavares has done anything to like have them like, oh, we got to change this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, and again, like, especially during the playoffs, I really enjoy tuning into Leafs media because it is like, I mean, I complain about some of the people in Boston, the media here, rightfully, because there's a couple that are just I mean, it's another level. But like Toronto, things are going well, and there's about like 50 people who go post game, and they're like, "Let me find something to fuck this guy's day up with." But
there's more than 50. Like, there's more than 50.
yeah. But it's so I know like the idea of Tavares not having to see anywhere has been a thing. Like, I mean, during the playoffs, it was crazy. Like, that was one of the first topics of conversation everywhere in that, which was, again, just so weird. But one of the big knocks on him as a captain, and again, realistically, it's only funny to me because it's Toronto, like you said. Like, that's literally the only reason I even like give this more than 5 seconds of thought. But like, one of the knocks on Tavares is like, hey, this is like the locker room seems super cliquey apparently. And like when they need a boost, like Tavares isn't like the rah fucking, hey, no, we don't do that here, whatever guy. Like he's just like a really good fucking hockey player who's older than everybody. Like it was like, I don't know. That was like one of the big knocks. And again, like one of the reasons that was very cliquey is like it was Mitch and Austin and Willie hanging out and Morgan Riley. And it was like just groups of players. So it's like, it's weird. Again, like this is just weird in my head. But not again, weird. Like the number one thing is it doesn't feel like it had to happen right now, but maybe they want to do it with Berube coming in. I have no idea. Yeah, I honestly think like, I doubt Tavares is like really, I don't think Tavares really even like, I think it's like, okay.
He cares. He'll never say anything. He cares. Mm-hmm. It's also a little like side funny piece of this is that they literally stripped the like local boy who wore Maple Leafs pajamas to bed every night, made the best American hockey player their captain right before we finally get national competition back. Love it. Love that aspect. And I wonder, and I didn't even think about this until now, but have you ever done like fantasy football or fantasy anything on like DraftKings? There's this thing you can do. I don't do much of it, but
the boost.
Well, you make someone your captain.
Yeah, it's like 1.5 times salary.
Yeah, 1.5 times the salary, but like 1.5 times the points as well. And it's like, do they think that like this is just going to get Auston Matthews 100 goals this year, or like is that like their motivation? They're like, hey guys, don't know if you heard of this thing they got in the States called DraftKings. I think they're on to something here.
Yeah, well, don't tell them where HQ is then. You know, they don't want to know where DraftKings HQ is.
Ooh, no, they don't. No, they don't. That would be bad.
I know. It's right down the street from me. Yeah.
Oh, that's a little scary. But yeah, that's a weird situation altogether. But how can we make this about the Minnesota Wild? I gotta imagine there's already people out there being like, yeah, Toronto got it right. We need to get that C off of Spurgeon and slap it right on Brock Faber. Or we need to throw it right on Kaprizov because then he can't leave.
Legally can't. I mean,
what if Kaprizov's demand was, I'll stay under 2 conditions. Number 1, I'm captain. Number 2, we get rid of that nonsense C patch, and I got a K.
Oh my god, that would actually be.
Do the Wild
fucking
immediately do it? They have to, right? The league comes to them like,
Yeah.
you can't just put a K. They're like, we did. I don't know what to tell you.
Or he's like,
Do you want
Run.
Kirill to defect to the KHL?
yeah.
Don't think so.
Or his demand is 1, I am captain. 2, Zuki is also captain. Both captain. Two captains.
We are the captains now.
All right. Okay. Well, all right, Kirill. Well, and like to what you said too, like the conversation here for a long time was like, yeah, Spurgeon has a C. Everyone loves Spurgeon, but like the vocal leader in that room has always been Marcus Foligno.
Right.
And like he was very much a guy that like they were looking at, or well, that was the speculation at least. Like Russo was floating it out there, like yeah, like in terms of who the next captain is between like guys like Spurgeon, Foligno,
David
those
Spacek.
guys, and there's like David, yeah, soon to be David Spacek, best prospect in the world. But I'm telling you, in Boston, dude, I mean, even when at the tail end of Chara's career in Boston, even when he was still a good fucking hockey player, these dickheads, I almost use a really bad word. These dickheads down the street at the sports hub, two of my least favorite fucking sports media people on the planet, they actually peddled this horse shit into the world that the Bruins would have won more Stanley Cups if Patrice Bergeron had the C like 4 years earlier than he got it. And it was mind-numbing to the point where like it was every 3 Bruins fan tweets replying to the team on Twitter. Like it was like one person was like, I love the Bruins. And then it was Tuukka Rask sucks. And then it was tell Chara to rip that C off his sweater and give it to Bergie. And it was unbelievable. And like it was an actual conversation almost every fucking day for like 4 or 5 years. And I mean, it was unbelievable.
I can't believe it took you this long to bring it up. I thought you were going to bring that up 2 minutes into this topic. So
I was trying not to. I eventually I couldn't. I'm going to bring it up 11 more times before this episode ends.
That's pretty great. Dude, how about this though? Yeah. Jordan throws in, at least Kaprizov gets to play in Norway with Zuki. Dude, he's for sure getting detained and he's not coming back.
Did you see Russo's tweet about how he had to get there?
No, what did he do?
Okay, so like there was a Russo translated the story. So Kirill, this is how he's getting there. So Kirill Kaprizov can't simply fly into Norway without a special permit. Weird, we've never dealt with that one before. Due to Russia's invasion into Ukraine, after much work behind the scenes, listen to this. Kaprizov will fly from Moscow to Istanbul to Gothenburg and then helicopter to Lillehammer, Norway, that's how much he loves this guy. That is unfucking believable. That is how he has to just get to Norway for this fucking game. It's amazing. It's incredible.
I don't. I love that he's supporting his teammate. I'm not on board with this. Wait. Hang on. Spin zone. He can't get back into the U.S. Can't play this season. We punt the contract issue 1 year down the road.
Fair enough.
If he doesn't come back to the States, we don't take a year off of his deal, do we?
Yeah,
I like that. It gives us 1 more year to prove to him what we can do, and we're going to get young kids into the lineup, and we're going to get a better draft pick because of it. That it's all coming together. Billy put him up to it.